I'm Nick.
I'm the Gorehound.
And I'm Jen.
And this is the all-new CultureCast Election Special.
Woo!
Given that the U.S. presidential election is tomorrow, so go out and vote if you're a U.S. citizen, I suppose.
Go America.
America.
Real citizens already voted.
I already did.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah.
Does that make you the worst?
I guess.
He just likes long lines. I mean, what can you say?
No, I voted on Saturday, which is, as of this recording, in the future, but by the time this is posted, will be the past. So take that for what it is. But anyway, we all voted for Jill Stein, no doubt about that.
Definitely not wasting a vote.
Let's get political.
Anyway, we thought it would be fun to look at some of our favorite fictional presidents because we thought, with the election being tomorrow, it would be kind of fun to look into that. And there are a ton of fictional presidents.
And we've been talking about this a lot because for some reason we just love fictional presidents a lot. So
yeah. So
I think we mention it like every 4 podcasts or something like that.
I feel like we do, yeah. I feel like we do. So we compiled a list, and we have about a list of 11, and we're going to go in this in alphabetical order. We discovered when we made this list that the Gorehound and I had some overlap with some of our choices. Jen, you had 4 or 5 completely different ones that we did not even consider. So it definitely added some new diversity to our list there. So there's going to be a couple of sections where it's going to be Jen heavy. So be ready to go.
Absolutely. I'm so excited.
And you just can't hide it. There we go. Okay. So first, we're going to skip our regular segments today because we feel a lot of it needs to go into this. So
Special edition.
So, okay. So our first president is David Crock, played by Kevin Kline in the movie Dave. Have either of you seen the movie Dave?
I have not. Yeah, I have not, but I did while doing research. It did look very intriguing. Like, I really want to go out and seek this one out. He looked very because if I could give it like a 5-second synopsis from what I interpreted, the president dies, and this is a lookalike doppelganger.
Yeah,
that has to actually do like legit, or he actually does legit stuff.
Yeah, you're pretty close on that. The president's actually in a coma, so they needed someone to fill in while he gets better. And Dave, played by Kevin Kline, plays both roles, and the president's actually in it only for a very short period of time. And he's kind of just in there to be a puppet for the actual powers that be, but he begins taking his role as president seriously. Also stars Sigourney Weaver as the First Lady, and it's just a very, very, very funny movie. But as for Kevin Kline as a president, or David Crock as a president, he's great. He's very charismatic. He's very he's humorous. He's trying to figure it out. He's like a little kid who discovered, I get all the toys in the kingdom, and I'm going to do things my way, and no one could tell me no, because they need me more than I need them. So,
and I think everybody has a little bit of an inborn desire to do so.
Yeah. So I highly recommend this mid-90s film. Very, very enjoyable, and I thought Dave Crock would be a... Korvic. Why do I keep saying Crock?
I see Kovic.
Kovic.
Yeah.
We've been over this. I don't know how to pronounce names ever.
Have you seen this movie?
I have, yes.
Okay.
Just because I've seen it doesn't mean I know how to pronounce things.
I mean, it's literally a movie. Like, they probably say his last name at some point.
Well, yes. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but I just know him as Dave because the movie is named Dave, so I just refer to him as President Dave. So, there you go. Thumbs up on that. So, I guess that's all I have to say about that. I don't know what's our outline here. Are we talking about like the pros? Why the guy or girl are great as president, or are we just talking a little bit about in a general sense?
Well, I was thinking about that before, and
I'm glad we planned this out. I really am.
It's kind of difficult to figure out whether you like the character or the movie more, because of the movies that I picked. We'll get to it, but Independence Day, for example, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who I like more in that one, but other ones like Mars Attacks. Jack Nicholson really isn't the star of it. And so it's like, do I like the movie more or him more?
Okay.
So I'm not really sure about that.
I guess we'll get into it as we get along there. So let's move on to our number 2 on this list. Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho, played by Terry Crews in the movie Idiocracy. Now, Gorehound, we both had this one on our list.
Yeah, because he's so awesome.
The movie Idiocracy, I don't think it's a particularly good movie, but Terry Crews is phenomenal as the president who's literally an everyman. He's a slob. His opening words to his State of the Union is shit. The country's in shit right now. He has like an automatic weapon to like deter people who are angry at him.
To quote President Camacho, at one of his first lines, it says, "Now I understand everyone's shit's emotional right now, but I've got a 3-point plan that's going to fix everything." And I mean, that's what we want to hear sometimes.
Jen, have you seen Idiocracy?
No, and I feel like it's one of those movies that, like, I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but it's also one of those movies that people bring up, like, all the time, so I kind of feel like I have to not see it because I don't want other people to be happy.
It's one of those movies that you really only watch once.
Yeah.
Just to get the idea, and then you're like, okay. Because it's kind of difficult to sit through, because it's not very good, but it's a great social commentary, and it's really funny. Kind of like, funny movies.
Yeah.
Like funny movies, sure.
And I think if any other actor is playing that character, President Camacho, it would not have worked. But Terry Crews, who is amazing in absolutely everything.
I mean, I love Terry Crews.
Yeah.
I just want to make that clear.
He elevates bad material to a new level.
So yeah, Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho.
Can I just say I love how his middle name is Mountain Dew?
No.
It's just one of those like absurdist things that just throw in there that is so dumb, but it works on just I don't know. It's so dumb but funny. Yeah. But if this character came to life and was running for president, I would vote for him. I would, because I think he would get things done in his own way. Gorehound, I was kind of talking a lot about this guy. What do you have to say about him?
I mean, in the movie, you really don't like him because he's
dumb.
kind of an antagonist, and actually, you kind of hate everybody in this movie, so he doesn't really make any difference. But when I just watched the few scenes with him individually, he really stands out. Like when you think of him apart from the movie, I think that really exaggerates its greatness a lot more. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great guy. I vote for him.
Okay, so let's move on to number 3.
Yeah.
And Jen, this is a your pick. Frederick
Absolutely.
Bellacourt?
Yes. Played
by Jason Ritter in Another Period. So tell us about Another Period and, I guess, Vice President Bellacourt.
Okay, so I will say that when we picked this topic, I was like, I can absolutely find 5 fictional presidents. But the thing is, I don't actually watch a lot of stuff with fictional presidents in it. I think it's because if you see a fictional president, like most TV shows, most movies, just kind of either like glide past the idea of the president, or they go to or they just kind of like imply that the current president's in office. Mm-hmm. And so, so I was thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And, since I don't watch a ton of disaster movies, which I'd say are like 90% of the fake fictional presidents. And then I'd say the other.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, good point.
Right. And I just don't watch that many. So, but I love another period. It's this show on Comedy Central that is basically about these two women who decide they're going to become famous in 1903. And so they're, it's social commentary. It's every, funny actor in Hollywood shows up for an episode at some point. And Frederick Bellecourt, played by Jason Ritter, becomes VP when Teddy Roosevelt comes to visit the family. And then he just basically decides he needs to elect like a real idiot to be his, well, I guess he doesn't elect him, but he
like appoints him,
brings him onto the ticket in order to have like a real idiot in the seat so that then, he can do whatever he wants and, no one will like, notice what's up or anything. It's a really interesting show. I like it a lot. And I think Jason Ritter is someone whose career I haven't watched consistently, but like I used to watch him way back in the day on this show called Joan of Arcadia.
Oh, I remember that show.
Yeah, and he was on it, and he was really good. And so ever since then, every time he pops up in something, I'm like, hey, it's that guy from that show from that time. And so, so this was definitely a show that I started watching with friends, and it's just finished its second season, in which he did become vice president as one of the many subplots going on, and I think it's pretty delightful. So he is a vice president, but I think you'll have to forgive me because I don't watch enough disaster movies.
Who is the actual president in this one?
It's Teddy Roosevelt.
So it's a real president, but a fake VP.
I see.
Exactly.
Gotcha. And therefore it qualifies for our one rule. Fictional.
Because I wanted to. So.
Okay. Excellent. Would you vote for Frederick Bellecourt if he was running for president or if he was on a VP pick?
I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and put out there that I probably wouldn't vote for any of my picks. Just like ahead of time, I'm going to just put that out there. But I mean, I do think there is something interesting in the political system where we kind of want our vice president to be an idiot and, not to get too political, but I think that after, George W. Bush's VP was, basically Darth Vader, I think a lot of people just wanted to have somebody who was sort of dumb. So they sort of play that up in the media like, oh, Joe Biden, he loves ice cream, I mean, Joe Biden has many other qualities, but
right.
They're like, oh my God, another Joe Biden gaffe. Like there must be something in our in our desire to want him to be stupid. And there's also, I mean, so if you read The Onion at all, they've started talking about
like he's a little kid.
Like he's a little kid, right? Like he's a 5-year-old. So it's like you just see right there. And, they played it a little bit differently with Joe Biden. Like Joe Biden was this kind of badass because he was like selling drugs on the White House lawn. But, I mean, I think there's kind of an interesting desire to make our, as soon as Tim Kaine popped up, everybody was like, oh man, America's stepdad. I bet he's going to make like some jokes just like my dad would make, and he's going to wear a sweater vest. And so I think we kind of want our vice president to be simple, and I cannot parse out exactly why that is. But I mean, it probably doesn't say great things about us as a people.
I would argue, I would go back that the vice president as being a goofball, you can bring that back to Al Gore to some extent, and even to Dan Quayle.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's a relatively newer phenomena. I think it's got played up more since the internet. Anyone who has a funny bone can make a joke now.
Right.
But I feel like that's been a thing. I don't know.
No, that's fair. I mean, I was barely alive, but when Dan Quayle misspelled potato.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember that happening, but I remember them making fun of it on Murphy Brown. So that's exactly how old I am.
Joe Biden has some sick memes.
One of my favorite Joe Biden gags on The Onion was Joe Biden gets looking forward to a sweet summer gig painting and White House or mowing White House lawn or something like that. Just something
I remember
ridiculous.
that one.
And like showed him like outside with like a
I can
wife
see him
beater.
doing that. But yeah, it is unfortunate that like that's what he's been forced into being is just like this bumbling old fool where he's actually like the vice president of the United States of America right underneath Obama. And it's like we could give him a little bit more respect, but then again,
Why?
I want some sick memes. So
Right. And also for him to not shoot anybody in the face.
yeah, I'll take that.
All right. Well, let's move on. Gorehound. This next one is you, President James Dale, played by Jack Nicholson in the film Mars Attacks.
Yeah, and I've actually had my list for quite a while now, and I just thought of this one recently. But in this case, it's more of a I like the movie more than I like him. Mm-hmm. But he is still, part of the movie, and therefore, I raised him up on a pedestal as high as I put Mars Attacks.
But he got fooled by the aliens.
I know, and like when I see him and the aliens in the same room, I can't help but love everybody on the screen. And so it's kind of like appreciation by association. I don't know. Did you guys have any affinity for Jack Nicholson in this one?
Like, I remember seeing this movie as, like, a 10-year-old. Like, I think I might have even seen it in theaters. Mm-hmm. But I have, like, almost no memory of it. I saw a picture the other day. It was one of those BuzzFeed listicles.
You like BuzzFeed a lot, don't you?
No, I don't. Or I don't mean to. But I feel like everyone links to it off of my Facebook. So I'm, if I'm just, like, sitting there going through Facebook, I'm like, okay, let's see what this article about why millennials hate groceries is about.
I saw that one today.
Right? And I was literally looking at that right before we started podcasting.
Basically, to sum up that, I like Mars Attacks more than I like Jack Nicholson, but he is part of that, and so I put him on the list.
Would you vote for
No.
James Day? Would you vote for Jack Nicholson?
Yes.
Well,
just to see what would happen.
Hey there, Russia. This is Jack. That's my terrible Jack Nicholson impression.
It was horrifying.
I didn't say it was going to be good.
No,
Oh.
I really don't think that celebrities should get into politics.
Except Schwarzenegger.
Closing thought. Unless you're Leonardo DiCaprio, who is basically just throwing money at environmental causes, stay out of it.
Well, I think we're going to disagree on this next point because this next person on the list, Gorehound, you and I share, and if the actor was actually running for president, I would vote for him in a heartbeat.
Would you?
Oh, especially if he's like it in this movie, which I'm assuming he would. Why wouldn't he be? James Marshall, played by Harrison Ford in Air Force One, who is like, he should be number one on this list in my opinion because it's Harrison Ford as the president. He doesn't like people on his plane. And
I disagree with that, but we will stay focused.
Which part do you disagree with? That he doesn't like people on his plane? Because he
does
says,
not like people on his plane.
Get off my plane!
No, the fact that I think somebody else is the best on this list, but we'll get to them.
Okay, I have a feeling who you're going to pick, but anyway.
Goddamn right.
But anyway, James Marshall is pretty awesome because not only did he take down an entire terrorist cell, but he saved, I think, all but one person on his plane that got invaded by terrorists, including his family. So, yeah, he's pretty BA.
Yeah, that movie is sick, and he does a really solid job of president on there.
Like that intense scene where Gary Oldman kills like the really nice assistant or whatever, and Harrison Ford's like, should I give myself up? Should I let her die? He doesn't know what to do, and he eventually Gary Oldman eventually kills her, and it's like that's some tense stuff. And like you see it in his face, like he feels guilty, even though he know he did the right thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen Air Force One, Jenn?
Absolutely.
In theaters, right?
No, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Why not?
I don't even think I could tell you. I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there that I've never seen, like Star Wars, where like I'm pretty sure I could recite the basic plot to you if I was really pushed to it. Whereas I feel like I don't know anything about Air Force One. Like I don't feel like it's this big cultural force, even though I've heard of it.
It's not a cultural force. It gets remembered for Harrison Ford being the president, and the ending line where he punches Gary Oldman out of the plane and says, "Get off my plane."
Get off my plane. Get off my plane.
You're Harrison Ford. It's great.
I will say, though, going back on my earlier comment, I probably wouldn't elect or wouldn't vote for Harrison Ford. I retract that because Harrison Ford would probably just be high the entire time he's in office. So, you know.
On one of my favorite podcasts, Hollywood Babylon, Ralph Garman does all these impressions. As you know, if you've seen Yoga Hosers, where he does all of them in person. But one of his impressions is Harrison Ford. And it's great because I see in this, because I watched quite a few scenes to get familiar with it again, and his mumbling is like insane in this, and that is exactly where I think he got this idea that Harrison Ford is a constant mumbler. He's like,
he somewhere in the 90s he became a total mumbler.
I know, and it's like there is no denying it.
Fortunately, he didn't mumble his way through Star Wars: The Force Awakens, but he was actually acting again, which is whoa. Harrison Ford still has it. But,
keep it up.
Yeah, but somehow he turned into a mumbler. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But anyway, from one action hero president to another, next on our list we have James Miller Sawyer, played by Jamie Foxx in the movie White House Down.
Yes, this one was mine. So I saw this movie in theaters because it was summer and whatever. I can't justify it. But it was great. It was very stupid. So basically, you have Channing Tatum, who, in my opinion, sort of looks like a thumb. And he
the best looking thumb you've ever seen.
I mean, he's got great abs, but look at his face. It's not that great.
Are you saying that the only thing you like on him is his abs?
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, I think that's fair. I think he's got very good abs, but I don't think his face is all that good looking. If he were chubby, I don't think people would be like, "Oh my God, he's so great." That's what people sound like when they talk about him.
He does look like he ran into a brick wall, and his face kind of got smushed in a little bit. I will give you that. That said, I'm a fan of the Tatum, so he can do no wrong in many ways. He's a national treasure, Jen.
How does the Gorehound and Nick have a greater affinity for Channing Tatum?
I assume he's your belated man crush of the week.
There's no man crush of the week this week, but if there was, I don't think he's ever held that title. Maybe.
Are you going to make him a man crush of the week just to spite me? I mean, that's fine. I just want to know.
No, I hold that title in great prestige.
Okay.
Not everyone gets to be man crush of the week.
Yeah, even though I do repeat myself, every other week with Andrew WK or Kevin Smith. Yes, that's a topic for another week.
But anyway, let's talk about Jamie Foxx as the president.
Right. So basically, this guy is at the White House and he wants to become Secret Service. And then while he's there, these terrorists, who are all probably Russian, if I'm remembering correctly, decide they're going to take over the White House. And so then they start shooting people and, whatever. And then Jamie Foxx, who's basically, I mean, he's not Obama, but he's sort of Obama. But Obama, if Obama could shoot guns, which, I mean, maybe he can. I don't know. I bet he can.
I bet he can.
He grew up on the rough streets of Kenya, so he knows.
I would
throwing a birther
that
joke.
He cannot. No, but anyway, so he's basically supposed to be Obama, and so he, is trying to help him. They're both trying to figure out the bad guy who's I don't know, the vice president or something. It doesn't matter. but there's also something with like the nuclear codes, and so like we can't type in the number because then we're accidentally gonna blow up space. I don't know, but
I want to see that movie. Not White House Down, but the movie you've just described.
I mean,
we're gonna blow up space.
It's sort of deliciously stupid, and there's definitely like a scene I think where they're like in the limo and Jamie Foxx like is shooting the machine gun at the bad guys, and like why is there a machine gun in the limo? I don't remember. It was a summer movie, like it doesn't matter. But
action packed.
The point is, he's a lot of fun, and I feel like out of the list of people we have so far, I think this is the only one that's like a take on Obama, which I think is sort of interesting.
You might be right on that. I'm trying to think. I mean, not to sound stereotypical, but anytime if you see a black actor as president of the United States, your mind is automatically going to go think to Obama, especially post 2008. And nothing immediately jumps to mind of that, unless it's someone playing Obama. But
yeah, I could definitely see this as a take on Obama.
Yeah, and not just because he's black. Like, I'm not, saying it's because he's black. I'm just saying because he's in many ways just seems like a sort of Obama type. Like he's got that kind of charisma, which is just, a lot of that's just Jamie Foxx being very charismatic. But he's got the kind of charisma and the smooth talking and the, there are a lot of different ways to be president. But I think he's in the mold of the Obama, which is the, good order, smooth talker, really charming, pretty funny, and I think they kind of go there with that, whereas I wouldn't say like, Clinton the first or W would follow that at all. Like they're very different sorts of guys, I think. So
Jamie Foxx really transformed himself in this movie to become president because he's never really played like this serious of a role, even though it's not like that serious of a movie, but the role is very serious.
It's true.
Whereas like Jack Nicholson or like Kevin Kline, I could see them replaying, a similar character or position in, their next movie. Whereas I don't expect Jamie Foxx to be playing like another like serious role after this, unless he like, changes course in his career.
To go back a second, Jen, to what you're saying about it being an Obama stand-in, also something to consider. This movie was directed by Roland Emmerich, who did things like Independence Day and 2012 and a bunch of other things. He's not known for his subtlety at all. So
fair enough.
I would say definitely this thing's going after an Obama thing. And Gorehound, I have not seen White House Down. I've seen the other Die Hard in the White House movie that came out that year, Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah.
But
this one was really fun.
Yeah, that's why I take
way
away
more fun.
I take the way that this one was more of the lighthearted action, whereas the other one was more of the like serious knuckle punching and anyway. So yeah, and you're right, Gorehound. From the previews I've seen, that Jamie Foxx does take on a new sort of role that's still Jamie Foxx, but something that Jamie Foxx hasn't really done previously.
Yeah, he does it well.
This next one is... I think we both had this, Gorehound, did we?
Yeah.
We had...
for different reasons.
Okay. We had Jed Bartlett, played by Martin Sheen, on The West Wing. Very popular show in the late 90s, early 2000s. Or was it just the 2000s? I can't remember when the show started. But Jed Bartlett was the president for the 6-7 years the show was on, and... he acted like everyone... He was the ideal president. When people think of the president, they want him to be someone that Jed Bartlett was. A down-to-earth guy who can make tough decisions, won't take crap from someone, but at the same time can be nice and reasonable.
Nick, can I interrupt you really quick?
Yeah, sure. I had nothing else to say.
The Graveyard Queen is the reason that this movie is on, and she wanted to say a few things on it.
Oh, is the Graveyard Queen going to be talking?
Yeah, just a moment.
Oh my god, this is so exciting, guys.
We have a surprise guest.
Woo!
So I put Jed Bartlett on there because I've watched West Wing a little bit, but it's primarily an interest of my significant other who like really likes him. So why do you like Jed Bartlett? Why is he a good president?
First of all, can I just say that this name of mine was never agreed upon? Let's put that on the airwaves. Secondly, I love West Wing. He was such a fun president, and I think I'm not alone with that opinion. I think a lot of people were like nostalgic for West Wing when this presidential election started happening. They were all like, "Oh, I wish real Jeb Bartlett was running."
Right, because people actually care about him, and he was around for so long that the reoccurring viewers of the series got more of a connection with it, kind of like Lost, where you're just like you're so connected with these characters that you don't want to see anything happen to them, and when something does, it really affects you. And so having somebody in that big of power in a fictional role, it kind of bridges a connection.
Yeah, I would definitely say so, especially being in it as long as he was.
Absolutely.
Sorry, did you guys watch West Wing?
I did. I caught more of it towards the end when they started up the election storyline between Alan Alda and Jimmy Smits playing Republican and Democrat respectively, who would never actually act like a Republican and Democrat respectively. Sorry, I got on a tangent. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on. Go on, Graveyard Queen.
I'm sorry, who?
I don't know. Do you want me to call you by your
significant other?
The Gorehound significant other?
Sure, that's a much better name.
It has a real ring to it.
Yeah, it's nice and short, I think.
Rolls off the tongue like any other.
I really liked him too, just because he seemed like a really charismatic person, and Obama's really charismatic and a good speaker, and I think that's why a lot of people follow him, is because he's so, easygoing kind of personality, and he always seemed to know, like, about some random topic in history, really knowledgeable, and he was Democrat, and I like his views on a lot of things. So,
and all of his supporting characters like really respected him. And there wasn't a whole lot of people who really, didn't agree with what he was doing on a regular basis. So he really had like a sense of like friendship with everybody that he worked with.
Plus, what's her name from Greece was his wife, and that was pretty cool.
That's true.
Stockyard Channing or
Stockard
Channing.
Tatum.
Yeah, wasn't
yes,
it Channing Tatum?
Channing Tatum was the first lady on the West Wing.
He was a little young for Jeb, but I remember learning a lot, like just watching the whole series about, how a typical administration what that might look like. I mean, I know it's a made for TV, but I gotta imagine it's something like that. All right, I'm out of here. Bye, guys.
It's so good to have you.
What a nice surprise.
It was amazing. She's gonna come back for an all-girl episode, right?
Yeah, we'll see
figure out how
about
to work
that.
the computer.
That would be fun. It'd be a week off for me and the Gorehound.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys could go see a movie in theaters.
No, I'll still be on there, just in the background, just making snarky comments.
That's
all right.
Probably how it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let's get focused up here, people.
Will Forte, Last Man on Earth.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't even know.
Okay, so Last Man on Earth is one of those sitcoms that I really started liking about 2 years ago. I'm a little bit behind on it, but I will catch up at some point. But, the premise of the show, I don't know if you guys can figure this out, is that Will Forte plays Phil Tandy Miller, and he is the last man on Earth. So he, there's been this, like, disease that killed off everybody in, like a fairly gruesome way, it sounds like, too. And, he believes himself to be completely alone in the world, or at least in the United States. And he ends up finding some other people. But the first thing he does when he realizes that he's alone, first he goes around state to state looking for people and, like, Xing off states on his map and, putting up signs that say, alive in Tucson, Arizona. But, what basically ends up happening is he is the last man on Earth. So the first thing he does after he's done looking for everything is he starts looting. So he starts taking things from museums and he like has the Constitution and like a dinosaur head and all this stuff, and then he like moves into this house and basically trashes it by being gross, and he declares himself to be president of the United States because hey, he's the only guy left, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually he ends up meeting up with some other survivors, but there's only a few of them, and then he gets ousted as the president. But I think what's really great about this one is, just imagine, like, if you were the last person alive on Earth, wouldn't you elect yourself president? That's the first thing I would do.
But you can't really do it if you don't have anybody voting for you.
You can't if you're the only person. Then, like, you held an election. The election was you. You voted for you. And therefore you are president. I think you're not understanding the concept.
You're pushing it.
I don't think I would... Being president of the United States, if you're the last person on Earth, you're thinking too small. I would be like emperor of the known universe.
Right. I mean, well, first what you do is say time enough at last, and then you break your glasses. But like the second thing you do is declare yourself in charge of everything.
Well, yeah, obviously. So I disagree with you by saying the president. I'd have grander ambitions.
Okay.
But
I mean, also
me.
scarier ambitions, it sounds like.
Well, if no one else is going to be around, who's there to challenge you?
Okay. So we've got one person who's mad with power, one person who thinks this is a terrible idea.
He's president, but it doesn't really play out in the rest of the episodes, right? Because he's just like a normal character.
Okay, like I said, I don't watch a lot of disaster movies. I went through the entire list on Wikipedia.
Okay.
I would say it counts, because, I mean, he does make himself president.
Like I said, it is a plot point later on when other people show up, and then he gets ousted as the president.
Who takes over for him as the president?
Well, so he ends up meeting another guy whose name is also Phil Miller. And
That's awesome.
Phil Miller, yeah, and he, but he's like him, but in every single way better. He's more resilient, more reliable, better looking, and then everyone votes for him to be president. At this point, there's like 7 people. And so, yeah, it does become a plot point later on in the season. So I think it counts.
Okay. Would you vote for Phil Tandy Miller? Oh, I think you said...
Absolutely not.
No.
I would... No character of Will Forte would I ever vote into any sort of office.
Agreed.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So I guess let's go to our next one on our list here, which, Jen, I think you and I can talk about this one. Even though she wasn't on the my list, I did consider her, but I wasn't sure. She was more of an honorable mention in my case. But Selena Meyer from HBO's Veep, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Okay. So I think what's interesting about this show compared with like The West Wing, I think on The West Wing, so I've only seen a handful of episodes of it. I decided I was going to watch the whole series, and then like 16 episodes in, I stopped. But just not because it's a bad show, just because life is short. But it's the exact opposite, right? Because on The West Wing, everybody's doing everything out of like love of party and country, and everyone's like very patriotic and very like intense about their beliefs and everything. And on Veep, I think it's the exact opposite, where like no one really cares about policy, and everything's mostly about getting ahead and staying in office and getting reelected to a better office, and screwing over people who have screwed you over, and
which ironically is probably more like real politics than.
Absolutely. Friends of mine who have lived in Washington, D.C. Say that, life is a lot more like Veep than the West Wing. People don't really care about a lot of the things they're saying because they just want to get elected, reelected, reelected.
So
but,
talking about Selena Meyer specifically, though. What is it that we like about her?
I'd say that she feels like a very real person. in that she's very self-involved and, is not patriotic or particularly concerned about a lot of policies outside of whether or not she gets credit for them passing or gets no credit in cases where she does not want to get credit for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like her a lot. I think she would make it interesting. I mean, I wouldn't want to be her friend, but I think she would be like really interesting to go to a cocktail party with.
I also love how Julia Louis-Dreyfus, like Selena Meyer, could easily have been a one-dimensional doofus of a president who does things for selfish reasons. But I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus and the writing really elevate that character into something more three-dimensional. Have you seen this previous season?
Yes, I'm completely caught up.
Okay. When she's essentially voted out of office through a really wacky means, her like last couple of days in office, there's like a real emotion that you wouldn't expect from a character like this on any other show, that really brings out more of the character. And something like that on paper shouldn't work, but it does, surprisingly. And it makes you sympathize with this kind of an awful human being.
Oh, yeah. No, I think she is sympathetic. I mean, at the same time, in the show definitely doesn't shy away from the fact that, like, for instance, she's definitely ruined her daughter's life.
Oh, God.
Like, no question, she has definitely ruined her daughter's life.
Wait, is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, is she the daughter or is she the mom?
No, she's the mother.
She's the mother.
She's like 50.
She has a daughter in the show.
What's her name?
Catherine,
yeah.
And she's played by somebody famous's daughter, but I can't remember who. Oh, she's a Sutherland. Oh, that's good, because I have a Sutherland on the list.
That ties into our next one.
But yeah, no, I really like her. I would also like to point out that she is the only female president on the list.
You know, there aren't many fictional female presidents.
You'd think there'd be more.
After this year, they're going to be everywhere.
I think watch us come back in like a week from now and see how right or wrong our predictions are.
Oh, shit.
But there's one show starred Katherine Heigl. I don't remember. It was terrible because it was starred Katherine Heigl. But hang on. What's up?
We got to keep this part of the podcast in, definitely.
Yeah, not cutting this one up.
Oh no, he was gonna do the editing this week.
Yeah, you can have fun with that.
All right, sorry about that. I'm back.
You should be.
I forgot what I was saying.
We didn't care anyways.
Okay, let's just move on to our next person then.
Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland as President Snow in The Hunger Games. Now, Jen, this one was yours. And
yes.
While he is a president, he's not a president of the United States.
No, but he is the president of Panem, and Panem is like where the United States used to be after some untold world wars.
Okay. We'll allow it. Gorehound, do we allow this?
I'm looking at the map of Panem. Yeah, it does look like the map of the U.S.
Right. But like 300 years from now.
Okay. We'll allow it.
Yeah, and it's grabbing parts of Canada and parts of Mexico, and I'm all for that, so I accept.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, Jen, what makes President Snow so great?
I mean, he's a terrible person, but he's played by Donald Sutherland, and Donald Sutherland is great. Like, he is everything the role sort of demands of him. I think so. I've read the books, and in the books, he's definitely more of like a snake-like sort of character. Like, he definitely like has this. Right. Well, right.
But
I
partly
mean, he's
only
supposed
because
to be
partly only because he's against J Law. So
that's fair. I mean, no, I think he's really good in the role. Like, he just brings a certain sense of, you know, he's got that like aristocracy. Like, he's definitely says he's the president, but he's also definitely a dictator. Insofar as he's holding the Hunger Games, which I think is, you know, is an interesting take on like what could happen in the future if, say, we elect reality stars to be president. You know, I mean, I'm not saying there's a direct corollary there. I'm just saying there could be.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jen.
Right. No, I mean, I'm just shooting the breeze here, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I think, you know, that whole thing was the whole series was about the dangers of reality television. I'm just saying. But yeah, no, I think Donald Sutherland is so great, in the movies. And like I said, definitely a little different than the books, but I think kind of equally, terrifying and imposing.
Have you read the books?
Yeah, I read the books. I read all 3 of them in like 36 hours after I saw the first movie.
But there's 4 movies. So didn't you read the 4th book?
No, that one's still on my shelf. Like, I'm gonna get to it, guys. Don't worry.
Okay. So, all
right. Last one
on our list, and probably one that should come to no surprise of people who follow the podcast.
Yeah, best one ever. Thomas Whitmore, Bill Pullman of Independence Day.
I still think Harrison Ford gets the edge, but Bill Pullman's pretty good.
No, dude, I would honestly vote for Bill Pullman, and even though like I've got a pretty solid objection to voting for celebrities, he would do it. I feel like he would be like well-rounded. He would make like a good decision.
So if Bill Pullman ran for the presidency, like Bill Pullman the actor, you'd be like, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what makes Thomas Whitmore so great? Other than he single-handedly destroyed the aliens.
Goddamn right he did. No, because I was thinking, like I mentioned before, I have a difficult time discerning whether I like him more or the movie more. And like, I love Independence Day. I love all the characters that are in this, and he really elevates this movie. And I think that if he wasn't in this, the movie would honestly not have been that good, because he really holds the presidency together.
I see what you're saying. I disagree in your assessment because I think Will Smith kind of made that movie as successful as it was, but
it would have been great, but it wouldn't have been as great as it was.
Okay, like all of them bring something to it, like and Jeff Goldblum.
Right. Like if Mars Attacks, if Jack Nicholson wasn't in that movie, it probably would have still been just as good.
Okay, yeah.
But Independence Day would not have been.
I think you're on the money with that one.
I haven't seen him replay his role in the new Independence Day, but I am very excited for it. I want to see how they put his character in a sequel. Jen, you have any thoughts on Bill Pullman?
I am not sure I've ever seen Independence Day because I'm a terrible person.
You are ridiculous. You know that?
Why do you hate America?
That's fine.
You are not invited next week. You know that?
Okay,
you need to catch up with these movies.
I need to. I'm donating blood next Thursday. I guess I've been too busy giving of myself to really sit down and watch all of these movies. You know?
Yeah. Why are you doing that? Forget that mess.
I know that Thor saw Independence Day 2 this summer, and he said it was not ideal.
It was when
I like that assessment. Not ideal.
When my bride and I were on our honeymoon and we flew to Ireland, On Flight has like an on-demand service where you could pick what movie you want to watch, and one of them was Independence Day. So she was
you didn't bring me on your honeymoon, now did you?
Well, I didn't watch it, but my wife did, and at least she saw about half of it, and then she got distracted to try to take a nap, and I asked her, "Oh, don't you want to finish the movie?" And she's like, "I'm good." So
I've always liked your wife.
I know, so have I. But
you probably even more than me.
I have no closing thoughts on Bill Pullman other than I think that I know that he is my favorite president among this list. I would honestly vote for him, whereas I would probably not vote for anybody else on this list.
Not even Martin Sheen?
If the Graveyard Queen wanted me to, I would consider it.
I mean, I feel like he's great. His son's sort of a hot mess, but like...
He's not comparing to Bill Pullman.
No.
Did he save Earth from aliens? No.
Although,
next topic.
Fun fact, Charlie Sheen did play the President of the United States in the movie Machete Kills.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I was going to make the honorable mention.
So, father and son, we got a Bush situation here.
Do you know, fun fact about Charlie Sheen, he was at the game last night.
Yeah, I saw that. After he badmouthed them.
Right, he was there to support the Cleveland Indians, and then they lost. So, suck it, Ohio.
Tiger's blood.
Okay.
Nick, any closing thoughts?
I have no closing thoughts about our presidential list. I think we went through a bunch of them. I think any of these nominees would be better, perhaps, than the ones that we actually have. So, let's take that for what it is. Jen, do you have any final thoughts?
I'm excited to revisit this topic in 4 years and see how our pop culture presidents have changed or not changed.
I'm impressed that you're optimistic that we'll still be around in 4 years. I mean, the podcast, not, in general sense.
I wasn't planning on being dead in 4 years, just like for the record.
No, not dead. I mean that we'd actually still be doing this in 4 years, or we'd just.
I didn't say on the podcast. I just said in life.
Well, all right. Well, let's. Gorehound, thank you. Jen, thank you. Wife of Gorehound, whatever your handle name is, it going to be?
She's the Graveyard Queen.
She's She's not here to correct me, so.
Damn right. That was the very anti-feminist.
That's anti-feminist.
I don't know if that was so much anti-feminist as just being a jerk.
You can be both.
Oh,
the Gorehound's significant other.
Thank you for being on the podcast as well. That's great. Nice surprise for Jen and me. Thanks for listening, everyone. And once again, I'm Nick.
I'm the Gorehound.
Oh, and I'm Jen. And I was not texting.
We'll see you next week, everyone. You've been listening to the all-new CultureCast, where every episode is all new. Check out our blog, Zach and Nick's CultureCast, at znculturecast.wordpress.com, and find us on social media. Send us an email at nick.culturecast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback, comments, and requests. Theme music by bensound.com. The all-new CultureCast, a saltwater production, copyright 2016.
We're here.
Okay, it got quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah, you cut out after you said that it was Jimmy Smits, the NYPD guy, and then just everything disappeared.
Oh. Well, it was nothing worth mentioning anyway.
No, just say what you said, but more insightful and better.
Mm-hmm. And funnier, ideally.
Oh yeah, definitely funnier.